Let's just talk about the new release for you, and you help me understand what's going on in this market at the moment. Nissan Kicks, I know you're excited about it. I want to understand if there are too many EVs in this market, or whether you just think there's not enough at the right price point.
Yeah, look, we're very excited about the Nissan Kicks. It's I think, the car the customer wants at the moment in the US. It's a combustion engine, absolutely great design, affordable price point. We're bringing a lot of technology, a lot of fun to drive to the marketplace. And so we think we're just hitting the market with a new vehicle in the sweet spot of what the consumer is wanting at the moment. That's for the new Kicks. In terms of the EVs, the growth is there in the market. Perhaps the consumer moving into the EVs is at a slower pace than what some had dreamed about. But the growth is there, the interest is there, consideration is growing, and once people have driven EVs, they are very loyal to that type of powertrain, and so we think we will be seeing a steady growth in the market.
Jérémie, there are some reports that you have to offer dealers at the moment anywhere between $500 to $2,000 cash per vehicle to take on more inventory. I'm just trying to get some transparency from you, just to how difficult things are in this moment. Jérémie, is that story true? Can you verify that?
I think the story is a market story. I think there are a number of brands that have to deal with some inventory situations, and helping the dealers with floor plan and availability is part of our job. We're doing it in cooperation with the dealers, and so it's just short-term epiphenomenon. I think the key is having exciting brand advertisement and bringing the new cars to the market for the consumer to show up on the showrooms and take those cars home. So there's nothing specific to what Nissan is doing in the market at the moment. We are adjusting to good demand and the fact that the consumer is looking at this monthly payment, and we're helping them in every way we can.
Are dealers pushing back, Jérémie, more on having more electric vehicles on their lots simply because there hasn't been the demand that many people were expecting?
I think the dealers, they do see the growing interest. They do also face the need to perhaps spend more time through the process of explaining all the technology that goes into the EVs. I think there's one point of notice that Nissan is offering is that we know there's a lot of technology that goes in the EVs. We are offering a second delivery, which is an opportunity for the customers 8 days, 15 days after buying an EV at Nissan to actually have someone come home and re-explain and reintroduce and make sure all the technology is being used the right way, whether it's EV charging, ProPilot assist, driving assistance, or any of the connected services features that we have to offer. And I think that's what we all need to do, is educating and supporting the customer into getting the full access to what we have to offer through EVs, because they are packed technology cars.
But how do you keep up when BYD continues to cut prices?
That's a story of the industry. There's been always the need to be cost efficient. And so I would say we're very used to it. Ourselves, we're working on breakthroughs for our EV production, fewer parts, more simple to produce, greater economies of scale. I would say it's just what the auto industry is about. There's nothing specific. One day, one company is more aggressive on prices. The next day, it will be maybe another one. And we keep up with the pace of transforming those productivity gains into more affordable products for the customer. So it's healthy competition.
Do you think the market missed an opportunity to push hybrids, given the fact that we've seen more uptick in hybrids and people have been a little bit resistant to go full EV?
Again, I think what matters is the fact that we can all offer what the consumer wants. In our plan that you've mentioned, the new ARC plan, the midterm plan, we will be launching 30 new cars and trying to grow the business by 1 million units. 15 of those new 30 cars will be electrified. And in the US, we will get 7 new cars over the next 3 years in all powertrains, combustion engines, battery EVs, hybrids, PHEVs, because what matters is just to be able to offer the consumer what he wants. And so that's coming, that choice, I would say, is coming in greater numbers, including at Nissan.
Jeremy, I feel like we should call all executives of car companies ambassadors at this point, because it seems like you're trying to navigate the geopolitics of the world in a very fraught moment. And I wonder how much you're having to change your business structure to prepare for increasing tensions in different regions where you're not allowed to sell vehicles with parts from other countries that are specific.
I think the industry praises stability of rules and can cope with any rule that is being set. And so that's the most important for us. We make decisions early on. We make decisions today on the products that will hit the market in 2028, 2029. Billions of dollars are being invested. And so what matters is the stability of those rules, essentially whatever they are. And so that's what we're very focused on. We know how to adjust to any set of regulation that is being thrown or set up for us, and that's how that's where we make our business.
Jeremy, what I struggle with now is how you gain economies of scale, trying to do three different things simultaneously. So to satisfy the Chinese market with EVs and to simultaneously satisfy the US market with hybrids, you've got to do different things in different places. How do you generate cost reductions, achieve economies of scale when you have to do all of those different things simultaneously?
Yeah, I think regional size is what matters. China for China at Nissan is something that's working very well, and we will be launching in China over the next few years 4 new energy vehicles completely developed, localized and produced obviously by our Chinese for China business, and then elsewhere in the US, in Europe, or in our Japan business, we're trying to leverage global scale where it works or regional scale where it can. We've got a very big presence in North America, both in US, Canada, and in Mexico. And there's enough volume to generate, again, the economies of scale to be competitive. And being competitive just means bringing the cars at the right price for the customers to be very happy with those.
The question that Lisa asked, though, I think is a really important one, and it plays into this discussion that we are having. Can you generate global scale when it feels like these markets are becoming increasingly regional? And you mentioned the regional effort. I want to understand, and I'll ask you direct, what happens if we get the former president coming into power and he doesn't just put big tariffs on what's happening in BYD and with Chinese automakers in Mexico, he does it across the board, puts the walls up and shuts everything down. If we shut down the global auto market, it becomes heavily regionalized. Does it change what you do, or do you think the market was already moving in this direction?
I think the market is moving. I mean, with COVID and the semiconductor crisis, we've been obviously much more knowledgeable and careful as to how the logistics routes are set up across the industry. We've been thinking about dual sourcing and more insuring of the activities. And so that's a trend that, we want to continue. Building where you sell is a recipe for success in this industry. And so we are obviously very committed to making investments in North America that will help manufacture all the vehicles that will be sold here. And that's really, and so again, any change in regulation, I would say, we can cope with and adjust gradually. They just need to be stable over time.